Hi, I'm Jen from That Mama Book Nook, and welcome back to my channel. I am much more on top of things this year, and I'm actually sharing my Goodreads Choice Awards nominees for historical fiction before they come out this year. True predictions. They technically were last year too, but you guys would have no way of verifying that. Historical fiction is not my most read genre. That goes to contemporary romance, but it is what I would still consider my favorite genre. Probably my genre that has the most 5-star reads in it, and I just love it so much. If you aren't familiar with the Goodreads Choice Awards, it is an award that is given out to books on the Goodreads website or app in several different genres or categories. There are a few small parameters. This year the books had to be published between November 13th, 2024 and November 11th, 2025. Then on November 12th, 20 nominees in each category will be announced. Each nominee has to have a 3.5 star rating or higher on Goodreads, and each book can only be nominated in one genre. The debut category and the audiobook category can have duplicates if the book was nominated in a genre already, but only one genre. The same goes for series. If there are multiple books in a series that were published during the same time frame, only one book from that series can be nominated. The books have to be published in the United States in English. However, books that are published from translations and significant re-releases are fair game. Then from November 12th to November 24th, anyone with a Goodreads account can go and vote in each category for their favorite. On November 26th, Goodreads will release the finals. Each category will be whittled down to the top 10, and then the voting is open up again where we can vote for our favorites in the top 10 of each category. This goes on until December 1st, and then on December 5th, the winners of each category are announced. There's no real prizes as far as I'm aware. Goodreads will put that the book was either a nominee or a winner in which category on that book's page, so when you go to it, you know that it was probably a pretty popular book, and obviously being nominated or winning a Goodreads Choice Awards generates a lot of buzz for the books and authors and probably generates some sales. I have been tracking new releases all year long. It is one of my favorite things to do over on my Instagram, share all the new releases that are coming out. So I went back through looking at all the historical fictions since November of last year and picking out the top 20 that I think will make the first round of nominees in the historical fiction genre category. I'm feeling pretty good about my list this year. I have actually only read 2 of the ones that are making my final list. This is actually the same as last year, but almost all of them are on my TBR. I just don't always have the chance to read new releases, even if I really want to, but they definitely are on my radar. Definitely curious how many I get correct. I'm not going to do the long blurb about each book for this video. I'll save that for when the actual nominees are announced, but I will give a little tagline. I'll share what the Goodreads rating and how many ratings there are for each book. This does end up being somewhat of a popularity contest, and the ratings and number of ratings are obviously changing all the time, especially for books that are being actively read, so this was just the time that I took down the information. And I also have a few what I call honorable mentions that I don't think will make the nominees due to mostly to low number of ratings or maybe to a little bit of a low rating, but could surprise me and that are still kind of on my radar for historical fictions that came out in the past 12 months. I also posted all of these on my Instagram already, so if you kind of want to see all the books all together, feel free to check that out. I always link it down below. The first book that I think will be nominated nominated, I actually am just going to go ahead and predict I think will be the winner of the historical fiction category this year. It was my favorite book of the year, technically so far, but I don't really see anything surpassing it, and that is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was published on June 3rd of 2025, has a 4.35 star rating on Goodreads, and 441,199 total ratings, by far more than any other nominee on here. This is an epic novel set against the backdrop of the 1980s space shuttle program about the extraordinary lengths we go to live and love beyond our limits. As I said, I love this one. 5 stars. I don't think I've talked to anyone who did not love this one. 5 stars, 4 stars. I have not seen anything lower. I'm sure there is, but I would be shocked if this one didn't win, and I cannot see it not be nominated. Next up, I have Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. This was published on March 4th, 2025. This has a 4.32 star rating on Goodreads, so still very high, and 324,112 total ratings. Again, very high. This book and Atmosphere are the only two in the 6 digits for number of ratings, so again, would be completely shocked if neither of them were nominated. Someone had mentioned to me that this one maybe would be considered a different genre. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, since each book can only be nominated in one genre, there is a chance that some books that I mention are put in a different genre, or other books come in that I thought would be nominated in a different genre and didn't talk about them today. So there is a chance for some movement for sure. I haven't read this one yet, but clearly I own it. It has been put on my TBR for this year. I don't know that I will get to it, but there's a possibility I will. This is with the pace and twists of a thriller. It's full of simmering passion, impossible choices, and explosive consequences that toggles between the past and present to explore the far-reaching legacy of a first love. I got all these taglines from the books or Goodreads. Some of them aren't great at describing what the book is about, but again, I don't want this video of just nominees to be super long, so that's all you get for today. But again, I will definitely be going over longer blurbs when the full nominee list comes out. The next book that I am predicting will be on the Goodreads Choice Awards nominee for historical fiction is The Names by Florence Knapp. This was published on May 6th, 2025. It has a 4.15 star rating on Goodreads and 99,659 reviews. This is the extraordinary novel that asks, can a name change the course of a life? That's the tagline. Next up, we have Isola by Allegra Goodman. This was published on February 4th, 2025. It has a 4.01 star rating on Goodreads with 61,075 ratings. A young woman and her lover are marooned on an island in this epic saga of love, faith, and defiance. I should also mention my thoughts on, I think that there is a slight disadvantage to books published really early in the voting process, so books that came out like November, December last year, which to be fair is often less. It's not as big of a publishing month in my opinion, or at least from what I've observed, and definitely an even bigger disadvantage to books that haven't come out yet. I tried to take a peek at the books that are coming out in November, but I didn't really see any, so I don't actually have any books from 2024 or that have not come out yet, even though technically the window hasn't closed. I just don't think that there's enough time for them to get ratings. There wasn't any huge anticipatory books that were coming out, so I don't think any author is necessarily basing their publishing date on the Goodreads Choice Awards by any means, but I do think it puts them at a little bit disadvantage to be at either end of that spectrum. Next up, I have The Stolen Queen by Fiona Davis. This came out on January 7th, 2025. It has a 3.92 star rating on Goodreads, but it has 49,228, so a tiny bit on the lower side, but this is actually where you'll see the date. I think this is probably my earliest one, was a benefit because there was more time for more people to read the books, and it's certainly above that 3.5. 3.92 is not bad by any means, but when you compare it to the 4.35, 4.32 from Atmosphere and Broken Country, it's definitely one that's a little on the lower side. I still definitely think it will be in the nominees. This is an utterly addictive novel that will transport you from New York City's most glamorous party city to the labyrinth streets of Cairo and back. Then I have Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. This was published on January 28th, 2025. Solid 4-star rating on Goodreads with 47,754 ratings. The daughter of an affluent Black family pieces together the connection between a childhood tragedy and a beloved heirloom in this moving novel. Next up is The Book Club for Troublesome Women by Marie Bostwick. This came out on April 22nd, 2025. This has a 4.11 rating on Goodreads with 38,133 reviews. 4 dissatisfied 60s era housewives form a book club turned sisterhood that will hold fast amid the turmoil of a rapidly changing world and alter the course of each of their lives. Next up, The Stolen Life of Colette Marceau by Kristen Harmel. This was published on June 17th, 2025. This has a 4.32 star rating on Goodreads with 31,881 reviews. I have a copy of this. This is another one that is on my TBR for this year. I may or may not get to it, but I've heard great things. An electrifying novel about 2 jewel thieves, a priceless bracelet that disappears in 1940s Paris, and a quest for answers in a decades-old murder. Then I have What Kind of Paradise by Janelle Brown. This was published on June 3rd, 2025. This has a 4.14 star rating with 31,437 ratings. A teenage girl breaks free from her father's world of isolation in this exhilarating novel of family, identity, and the power we have to shape our own destinies. Next up is The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. This was published on March 18th, 2025. This has a 4.06 star rating on Goodreads with 25,477 ratings. This is a tale of the American West writ in blood. That's the whole tagline. I've heard good things about this though. And Stephen Graham Jones is definitely a favorite big name author out there. Then I have The Women of Arlington Hall by Jane Healy. This was published on August 1st, 2025. This has a 4.29 star rating with 22,858 ratings. This one I was surprised that it had a good amount of ratings and a pretty high star. And I actually haven't heard about this that much, at least on social media. So I definitely have this one on my want to read list. I'm super intrigued. A female codebreaker puts her future and her heart on the line in a stirring novel about love, loyalty, betrayal, and Cold War spy games. Then I have The Story She Left Behind by Patty Callahan Henry. This was published on March 18th, 2025. This has a 4.07 star rating on Goodreads with 21,092 ratings. Inspired by a true literary mystery, the sweeping story of a legendary book, a lost mother, and a daughter's search for them both. Then I have Homeseeking by Carissa Chen. This was published on January 7th, 2025. This has a 4.21 star rating on Goodreads with 20,185 ratings, and I've heard great things about this one too. An epic and intimate tale of one couple across 60 years as world events pull them together and apart, illuminating the Chinese diaspora and exploring what it means to find home far from your homeland. Then I have The Queens of Crime by Marie Benedict. This was published on February 11th, 2025. This has a 3.81 star rating on Goodreads with 18,856 ratings. This is another one that I think being published earlier has given it a better chance because it has more ratings than some that were published later in the year. This is a thrilling story of Agatha Christie's legendary rival, Dorothy Sayers, the race to solve a murder, and the power of friendship among women. Then I have Buckeye by Patrick Ryan. This was published on September 2nd, 2025. This has a 4.27 star rating on Goodreads with 16,382 ratings. This is one that I do think will still make the nominations, but because it is published a little bit later in the year, I think has a lower number, so I have it farther down on the list. And just for clarification, I have put them in pretty much number order, I think. Not star rating order, but like a number of reviews or number of ratings, but Goodreads doesn't necessarily put them in any order. In fact, I think in the past, if you like refresh the page, they'll be in a a completely different order. So there's no ranking until the final results come out. Anyway, Buckeye is a captivating story that weaves the intimate lives of two Midwestern families across generations from World War II to the late 20th century. Then I have Junie by Aaron Crosby Eckstein. I have this one on my Kindle actually. I was gifted it by a friend who loved it. This was published on February 4th, 2025. This has a 4.19 star rating with 14,410 ratings. This is about a young girl who must face a life-altering decision after awakening her sister's ghost, navigating truths about love, friendship, and power as the Civil War looms. Next up is The Listeners by Maggie Stiefvater. This was published on June 3rd, 2025. This has a 3.75 star rating. This is my lowest rated book on my nominee list. Still well above that 3.5. I do have some books on my honorable mentions that are higher rated, but the number of ratings is significantly lower, which I do think plays a big part. This book has 10,274 ratings. A lot of the books in my honorable mentions are only in the hundreds or low thousands. This is a mesmerizing portrait of an irresistible heroine, an unlikely romance, and a hotel and a world in peril. Then I have One Good Thing by Georgia Hunter. This came out on March 4th, 2025. This has a 4.27 star rating, but only 8,901 ratings. So we're getting smaller, but still pretty good. This is an unforgettable story of hardship and hope, courage and resilience that follows one young woman's journey through war-torn Italy. Then the last two books on my nominee list are Good Grief by Sarah Goodman Confino. This was published August 26th, 2025. This has a 4.17 star rating on Goodreads with 6,457 ratings. This one, I have been a Sarah Goodman Confino fan for a couple years now. I have read this book, 5 stars, as well as her previous 2 releases. I think she has 1 or 2 other ones that are on my TBR from her backlog that I haven't read yet, but her 3 most recent releases I have all read. And Behind Every Good Man was a Goodreads Choice Awards nominee in historical fiction last year. So I think she still has a good shot, even though again we're getting to lesser number of ratings. This is about a mother and a daughter-in-law. To move on, one of them will have to move out in a hopeful and hilarious novel about widowhood and family friction. Then my last book is Happy Land by Dolan Perkins Valdez. This was published on April 8th, 2025. This has a 4.28 star rating with 5,750 ratings. A woman learns the incredible story of a real-life American kingdom and her family's ties to it. Then for honorable mentions, I'm not going to do the tagline for these. I'm just going to try to go through them. I will briefly mention their star ratings and number just so you can see my thought process. First up, I have 6 Days in Bombay by Alka Joshi. I received this one from the publisher. I have this one on my TBR. This one actually does have 10,862 ratings, so a fair number and a little bit more than the last couple ones I shared, but it only has a 3.71 star. So I felt like in this case, the star, when you balanced both of them, the last 2, 3, I forget how many nominees that did have technically less than this book, their ratings balanced that out and would beat this one. But again, my honorable mentions are kind of books that could surprise me and end up on there anyway. Then I had Harlem Rhapsody by Victoria Christopher Murray. This has a 4.09 star rating on Goodreads with 6,715 ratings. So again, this one is probably one that is a little bit interchangeable with my last couple. It'll be really interesting to see how the bottom of my list shakes out. I think some of the ones that are at the top of my list are more likely shoo-ins than some at the bottom. So really interested to see which ones end up on there. Then I have Under the Stars by Beatrice Williams. This only has a 3.74 star rating with 6,549 ratings. Beatrice Williams is a favorite, but this book doesn't seem to be hitting quite as hard as some of her previous ones, so I don't think it will quite make it, but again, could be surprised. Then I have Wayward Girls by Susan Wigg. This has a 4.26 star rating, so pretty good, but with only 6,181 ratings. So still on the lower end. I haven't been hearing that much about this one, but it's a contender. Then I have The Secret Book Society by Madeline Martin. I'm actually currently reading this one and enjoying it. This has a 4.12 star rating with 5,013 ratings. So from here on out, you're going to see all of these books just have less ratings than any of my other nominees. Then I have Come Fly With Me by Camille DeMaio. This has a 4.28 star rating with 4,406 ratings. This one sounds so good and I really want to read this one, but I just don't think it has the ratings to make the Choice Awards nominees. Now we're dropping really low. I have Our Last Vineyard Summer by Brooke Lee Foster. This has a 3.72 star rating, but only 1,542 ratings. It's on my radar. I have a copy, but doesn't have the number of ratings or the stars to make it. Then I have The Lost Story of Eva Fuentes by Chanel Clayton. This has a 4.09 star rating with 1,261 ratings. I hope some of these honorable mentions that are getting good early reviews, but just not the number of reviews, will get bumped up and still get some of the recognition they deserve. The last 3 books on my honorable mention list are books that I'm all currently reading or at least started. Some of them I am close to finishing, one of them being We Rip the World Apart by Charlene Carr. This has a 4.10 star rating on Goodreads with 1,189 ratings. I'm really liking it. I'm almost done with it, so full review to come, but it doesn't have the number of ratings to make the Choice Awards in my opinion. Then I have The One and Only Vivian Stone by Melissa O'Connor. This has a 4.16 star rating with only 969 ratings. Liking it so far. I'm not super far into this one, but it seems great. I can't wait to see what the ratings look like in the near future. Then the last one on my honorable mentions list is The Harvey Girls by Juliette Fay. This has a 4.18 star rating on Goodreads, but only 802 ratings. I have basically just started this one. It's good so far. I'm enjoying it. I'm a broken record. Doesn't have the ratings. As I mentioned, there also could be some genre blends that take books out of this category or put books into this category that I didn't think of. So there definitely could be some surprises. There could be some surprises with some of those honorable mentions that I was talking about that are kind of cuspy, or maybe I've just completely missed some books altogether. Please let me know what you think. Have you read any of these? What did you think of them? Do they deserve to be on this list? Are there any that I missed? I think that I'm going to have my Instagram followers vote for which one of the nominees when the official list comes out. Will I read for a vlog again this year? I had so much fun with that with last year's nominees, and the book that everyone chose was The Frozen River that I did the vlog for a little while ago and ended up being one of my favorite books of the year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the nominees are and what gets chosen for me to read this year, but know that as a historical fiction book lover, a lot of these are on my radar already. Anyway, that's it for today. If you aren't feeling super chatty, go ahead and leave me a medal emoji for the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I will see you on my next video. Bye!